Hi everybody, it's Miss Smith and I'm back with more Chocolate Fever. I want to send a big thank you to David Cruson in our class who sent me a gentle reminder saying, hey Miss Smith, we haven't heard from you in a while. Are you going to read some of that book? So thank you, David, for the reminder. I need help remembering to follow through and do the homework that I give for myself. I am hoping that my little doggies are not going to be too loud today because they have been barking up a storm. So we left off that Henry was just really scared and worried and just didn't know what to do. So I'm just going to read you the last little bit from chapter 6 where we left off. It says, I can't go home, he thought, and I won't go back to the hospital. All right then, I'm on my own. Somewhere there must be a place for me, a place to go until these stupid big brown spots disappear, a place far away where no one has ever heard of me or the hospital or Dr. Fargo or my parents. Well, feeling much braver now, with things somehow settled in his mind, Henry lay down to rest for a while before setting off on his journey. Chapter 7, in the schoolyard. It was almost 2 hours later now, and the sun was somewhat lower in the sky. Henry looked cautiously out of the garage, saw no one, and then started on his way. He walked for a long time, trying to stay on side streets and being careful to avoid attention. It was not easy. People kept staring at him. Henry ignored them and just kept on walking. In the middle of the street down which he was walking stood a school. Henry could see lots of boys playing in the schoolyard. He decided to walk through the schoolyard to get to the next street. As he started through, all the boys stopped playing whatever they were playing. Basketball, they stopped. Pitching the ball, they stopped. Roller skate hockey, they stopped, all to look at him. It was as if all the noise and action had become frozen, like a movie or a TV show that stops suddenly. Henry kept going. As he was about halfway through, just about in the middle of the schoolyard, the kids seemed to come to life again. In less time than it takes to tell about it, he was surrounded. Henry looked around him. All the boys stared back. They had formed a tight circle around him, and Henry didn't like it. One of the tallest boys, who looked a good deal older than Henry, spoke up. "Boy, you're ugly," he said. "Yeah," said another boy in the crowd. "Really ugly." "Ugly," echoed another boy. I'd better be polite, Henry thought. Excuse me?" he said in a quiet voice. "Could I just get through here, please?" The boys didn't move. The big boy, who seemed to be the leader, spoke again. "I've seen pimples before, but those are ridiculous." They're not pimples," another boy said. "They're warts." "Yeah, warts," said another. "They gotta be warts." Now all the boys were speaking up. "Ugliest warts in the whole world I've ever seen." "In the world? Man, those are the ugliest warts in the universe." "I thought I'd seen ugly kids before, but this one is out of sight. Horrible, disgusting, revolting. And he smells too." A big fat boy with glasses said, "Yuck, he smells like a stupid candy factory." "Oh, nauseating," said someone else. The more the boys called him names, the worse Henry felt. He opened his mouth to say something, but nothing came out. The big boy in the crowd held up his hands to silence the others. "Quiet down, guys, quiet down," he said. "I want to talk to Mr. Ugly here." In a few moments, the crowd was silent. "Now then," the big one said, "you, Mr. Ugly, what's your name?" Before Henry answered, he thought carefully about this. He was ashamed of himself and the way he looked, but he was even more ashamed of the gang around him. How dare they act so mean? He hadn't harmed them. And now, when he could certainly use a friend... Get down, Peanut. One of the dogs is trying to get up on the table. No, we're not going to get up on the table. You can say hello to the kids after I'm done reading. Okay. Peanut just needs a little time out. But he was even more ashamed of the gang around him. How dare they act so mean? He hadn't harmed them. And now, when he could certainly use a friend, they had clearly marked him as an enemy. Henry started to get angry. but he kept his anger firmly under control. My name is my own business, he said. It's no concern of yours. Well, the gang hooted and shouted at Henry's reply. A few even whistled. Don't be fresh, kid, the big boy said. We don't like fresh kids around here. And fresh could mean like maybe a little bit of a smart aleck, like talking back a little bit. We don't like fresh kids around here. A few of the larger boys edged closer to Henry, closing the ring around him tighter. Let me hit him, Frankie, a voice said. Let me get him, another boy said. Henry thought quickly. Well, touch me and you die, he said. I have a rare and mysterious disease, and whoever touches me will catch it and die a horrible death. Ugh. The gang stopped closing in on Henry. Oh, yeah? Said the big boy. You expect us to believe that? Well, I don't really care whether you believe it or not, Henry said. You're bluffing, said the boy. And bluffing means like, you're really not telling the truth. You're just trying to get us to think that you're telling us the truth. But really, I don't believe what you're saying. Bluffing? Henry said. Touch me and you'll find out if I'm bluffing. I have chocolate fever, one of the most horrible and catching diseases in the world. Chocolate fever? Some of them yelled. You're making it up. Henry could see that he had the crowd on the run. Chocolate fever is the worst disease ever discovered on Earth, he said. You know what happens if you get chocolate fever? Your whole head swells up. Your mouth gets dry. You break out in big chocolate spots like me. And I'm going to show you guys a picture of this is him talking. And look at that big group of boys all around him. So here's Henry right here talking to all of these kids. I would be so scared. So you break out in big chocolate spots like me, and you begin to look ugly. And then the really bad stuff begins. Well, now all the boys were listening closely, and the circle around him was beginning to widen as the gang started to back away from him. He's making it up, fellas, big boy said. Don't listen to him. But the boys were listening all right and believing every word. Henry began to walk toward the boys, and as he did, they made way for him. So that means they started to move away for him so he could walk through. Slowly, a path opened, giving him room to get by. Hey, I don't want anybody to die, Henry said as he passed through the ring of boys, so you just better let me be on my way. None of the boys tried to stop him, even the big boy. As Henry passed close by, made no move to touch him. Just as Henry neared the outer ring of boys, he heard one of them exclaim, Hey, I know who he is. I heard it on the radio when I came home from school. There's a kid who ran away from a hospital this morning and the police are looking for him. His name is Henry Green. Well, the big boy called out as Henry kept walking, Is that you, kid? Are you Henry Green? Henry Green? Henry called back over his shoulder. Never heard of him. Just the same, as soon as he was clear of the schoolyard, Henry broke into a run and didn't stop until he left the gang far, far behind him. Ooh, that would have made me so nervous. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is entitled Mac. The truck thumped and rumbled along the superhighway, its powerful headlights cutting a yellow slice through the blackness. Are you all right up there, kid? The driver called. From the sleeping bunk set up high in the cab of the big diesel truck, Henry answered, Right, Mac, I'm okay. Okay, Henry thought bitterly. Sure, I'm okay. I don't have a friend in the world. I look like some sideshow freak. The police and doctors and my folks and heaven knows who else are all after me. And I don't know where I'm going. And if that's being okay, then I guess I'm okay. He had stood out on the highway for a long time and watched the day turn into dark. Hundreds of cars and trucks had swept by without stopping, but Mac had stopped and offered him a lift. That was hours ago, and they had come a long way. Henry didn't know how many miles they had traveled or where they were heading, and what's more, he didn't care. He was sure that Mac had not seen his spots. It had probably been too dark to notice them. No one in his right mind would have anything to do with me, Henry thought. Not once they got a look at these stupid big brown spots. Even Mac, nice as he seemed, wouldn't have taken a chance if he had seen me clearly, thought Henry. Hop in, Mac said. The weather's fine. A big grin crossing his friendly face. He was a huge man dressed in dirty coveralls. His truck was clean and warm, and Henry didn't hesitate. After sitting alongside Mac for an hour or so in the front seat, Henry had climbed up to the bunk and fallen asleep. He didn't know how long he had slept, but he felt very rested. Mac turned the big truck off the highway and onto a service road. Slowly, he shifted down through the gears and, braking gently, brought the huge trailer to a stop. "Hey, kid," he called, "come on down here." Henry climbed down to sit beside Mac. "It's supper time," Mac said. "Now, just as soon as I get the lights on—" Oh, I like it dark. I like it dark, Henry said quickly. "You what?" "I like the dark," Henry said as the lights came on. Henry blinked at the sudden brightness. "He's seen me now," he thought. Mac reached down below his seat and brought up a big picnic basket. He placed it between them on the seat. "Now, let's just see what the wife gave us for supper," he said. "Oh, it's all right," Henry said. I'll just get off here. You can let me off." "What?" I won't make any fuss," Henry said. "I'll just go quietly." So here's a picture of them. Let's see if you can see that. Henry's just waking up. "You are one strange kid," Mac said. "Now, what are you talking about?" "Well, you must see that I've got these big brown spots all over me now." Mac nodded. "Yeah, I see him." He began looking through the picnic basket. "You like ham and cheese sandwiches?" "Listen, I'm willing to go," Henry said again. Maybe you like chicken salad sandwiches? We got that too." "Oh, look at this, tuna fish sandwich." "I mean," Henry began again, "if you don't want to have anything to do with me, I'll understand. I really will." What's it gonna be? Tuna, chicken, ham and cheese?" He wasn't looking squarely into Henry's face. He was just smiling. Tuna," Henry said after a moment, taking the sandwich Mac handed him. "Glory be, we eat at last," Mac said. Henry gobbled the tuna sandwich in nothing flat and then went on to eat a ham and cheese sandwich, an apple, a piece of raisin cake, and half a thermos bottle of milk. There was chocolate cake too, but Henry declined. Somehow, it just didn't appeal to him. It means it didn't sound good to him. When they finished eating, Mac settled back and lit a cigar. "Mac," Henry said, "isn't there something you want to ask me?" "Sure, but I figure you're about to tell me what I want to know." "Well," Henry began, "I have this disease. It's called chocolate fever, and that's what these big brown spots are all over me. Just pure chocolate. And nobody, especially a doctor named Fargo, knows what to do about it. So I'll probably have these spots on me for the rest of my life, and that's why you're running away," Mac said. "Well, yeah, I have to run away," Henry said. "I look so terrible and ugly." "I wouldn't say ugly," Mac said. "I'd say unique." "What's that?" "Well, it just means sort of special." "But how can I live this way? I'm a freak. I'm a chocolate freak." "Easy now," Mac said. "Calm down. People are going to be looking for me. They're going to stare at me. How can I live with people staring at me all the time?" Mac chuckled softly, and he looked away from Henry. "How would you like it, Mac, if people stared at you?" "You know, kid, I've had some experience in that line myself," the big man said quietly. What do you mean? People stare at you?" "Yeah, people stare." "Gee, Mac," Henry said, "I'm sorry." "Oh, it's nothing personal, kid. Besides, the time that I was your age, I had gotten over it. You know, getting stared at and some other things got me thinking. Well, you know, I'm special." "You mean I'm special?" "Exactly right. So all that staring and stuff, what it did, it made me proud. You know, I feel good." "That's okay for you," said Henry. "But big brown spots all over, that's just plain ugly." Mac put his hand to his mouth and coughed. For a moment, Henry thought he might be laughing. "Okay, youngster," he said, "have it your own way. Just tell me, where are you going?" What do you figure on doing?" "Well, I'm just running away, Mac, and I don't know what I'm gonna do." Well, Mac thought about that for about a second and a half. Just flat out running away? No plan? Things get too much for you, so you cut out? You just go? Brilliant. I won't go back," Henry said. "I just won't." "Okay then, you won't go back, but let me ask you something. You got a mother?" "Yep." Got a father? Yep. Have they been good to you? Yes. They don't beat up on you? Of course not. They don't make your life miserable? No. So they're pretty good parents, right? Right. And you love them because they're so kind and good, right? Yeah. Well, how do you think they feel right now? Wondering where you could be? Are you all right? Are you dead maybe? Yes, sir, you sure are treating them mean. Why, it wouldn't surprise me if your mother was crying her heart out right now, just sick to death with worry about you. But Mac, no, you hush. Listen till I'm finished with what I gotta say. A good child respects his parents, yes, sir. A good child doesn't cause his parents heartache or grief or worry, no, sir. Henry didn't try to say anything, but he was listening very carefully. Now, here's my plan, kid. First thing we do is we drive down this road till we get to a telephone. Then we call your folks so they can stop worrying. I'm not going back to that hospital, Henry said firmly. Well, we'll tell that to your folks too. Maybe there's someplace else you can go, some other doctor who can take care of you. I like this idea, said Henry. Who knows, Matt continued. Maybe this chocolate fever of yours will go away. Maybe you'll just wake up tomorrow and it'll all be cured. Well, I hope so, said Henry, but I don't think so. Anyway, first thing we do, we call your folks, okay? Henry smiled. There was something about the way Mac spoke that made him feel better. How about it? Mac asked. Should we go find that telephone? What are we waiting for? Henry said. And that's the end of chapter 8. So I will be back tomorrow, and this little dog will be back tomorrow, and this other little dog who's sleeping and not barking will be back tomorrow. And that's it for today. See you guys later. I miss your faces.